Hi, everybody, and welcome to the RHAP B&B for week 2 of Survivor 48. My name is Mike Bloom, and we need to talk about Kevin, as well as a bunch of other players, as we say goodbye to a man that had a lot going on in those first 5 days. The self-proclaimed king of Vula has been deposed, and here we are as the proletariat to get together and talk about the pros and cons of getting rid of this tribe as the mystique of season 48 continues. And I'm sure we'll be talking plenty about humble traits. I guess my humble trait is that I have a very loud voice. I don't know, Liana, Boraas, yeah, it's your birthday, or it was. I think we could still
Yeah.
your birthday. Are there any humble traits that you want to highlight? But you don't need to be humble across your birthday.
Define a humble trait.
So Charity defined it as like God gives us these little kind of quirks and imperfections that in a way
Keep you humble.
because that sort of just makes us who we are.
Yeah, okay. Um, when I laugh really, really, really hard, sometimes I pee my pants a little bit. I think that's my weak pelvic floor is my humble trait.
You know what? It could be a lot worse. I think that's what I ultimately see with the humble traits is like I think they're not supposed to be like completely dire. It's just these small little things that make you stand out a bit more
Yeah.
from the person next to you. And of course, the person next to me is the person that has been next to me a couple times this week, considering that we just kicked off our coverage of The Amazing Race 37, which is airing alongside Survivor now on Wednesday nights. Jessica Liese, is there a humble trait that you'd like to shout out?
I will give a special shout out to my TMJ that makes a weird clicking noise when I eat.
Okay. There we go. I mean, that's the
Oh.
good thing about Survivor is like you're barely eating. So I
Yeah.
think if you feel embarrassed about that trait, honestly, if you feel like table manners are an issue of yours, Survivor might be the perfect show because you're very rarely going to show them off.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
everybody's eating with their hands anyway when they do get to eat. It makes
Mhm.
perfect sense.
Mhm. Yep. Click away, Jessica Liese. Click away.
Well, hopefully everyone can click on these podcasts that we're making as well as the season is just getting started. But I don't know. We got what 3.5 hours of content so far, 2 boots, and a whole lot of calamity to talk about. Idols are being found, but some may low key be sabotaged at the same time. We got 2 more advantages introduced, and the Vulas will keep on Vulaing as we get more interpersonal conflict leading to a blindside. But before all that, I don't want to skip over the fact that it is the birthday weekend of one of the co-hosts of the B&B,
Yes.
Liana Boraas.
Yes. Yes.
How you feeling right now? Did you do any dishes yesterday?
Did I do it? No. And I didn't hide anything from anyone. I got to solve my own cryptex. Puya and I went to an escape room. I had to like dig through. There was a coffin. It was Spanish Inquisition themed, so I never would have expected that. But
What?
we had to like dig through. There was like a coffin with a bunch of things that you'd like dig through all the spiders and stuff, and I lost a press-on nail in there, and so it's just forever part of the escape room now. We escaped, thankfully, so it was a bit chaotic, but yeah, I'm happy to be here and happy to be blessed with such a fun Survivor episode to talk about this week. It's all coming up, Liana. Like, I'm really having so much fun with this season so far. And this episode with Kevin going home, I was genuinely shocked at this boot episode.
I still am mulling over the idea of a Spanish Inquisition themed escape room. I'm not sure why in the course of human history they decided like, let me read the room right now, the escape room. I feel like this is the perfect time to really lock people into this environment for a specific portion of time.
So you're saying that you didn't expect it, Mike.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
You must expect the unexpected. Maybe Big Brother was the Spanish Inquisition the
All
entire
along. It's a Spanish. Yeah,
The real
exactly.
Inquisition was the friends we made along the way.
I mean, I would say, listen, when a host is maybe pushing their own religious narratives, maybe it's not too far from
See?
the Spanish Inquisition.
See?
But Jess, I want to hear your thoughts on Survivor 48 so far because we are a couple of episodes in. As Liana says, it has already been quite a journey, not the quite literal one that a few people will take this episode. What have you been thinking through 2 episodes?
I feel like we are still very much getting to know these players because we are still playing icebreaker games at the top of every episode.
Mm.
And I've kind of devolved over the years. I was like someone who could give you a TED talk on the strategic decisions of all of the first like 20 seasons. And then, in the RHAP era, I got even more annoying and insufferable about high level strategy. But I think now that we've, dropped the 4, we are 8 seasons into this experiment. Pretty soon we won't even have a 4 to deal with because it'll just be a 5. I'm all about vibes. And this is a very vibey season so far, and I'm loving that.
Yeah, I completely agree. To your point, like we started the episode with Siva, which is like I think sort of portrayed as Siga, which not only makes sense in terms of assonance, also the fact that they live on the same beach, but also like I wouldn't say they're the love tribe, but they're definitely the vibe tribe of like we keep on winning. Unlike Loggy, there is not like a huge amount of combative stuff going on. So they're saying, hey, you know what? Let's all go around and point out how weird we are to each other, which also feels relatable at the same time. I think a lot of people talked about in the preseason, especially again, a bit of the old school vibe of this cast, that maybe some of the people cast embody a time before the new era, which I think some people stereotype as a bit more like nerdy and geeky. But here you have David, one of the biggest self-proclaimed hunks of the season, coming out calling himself a 4-nippled man. So, like, it shows at the end of the day, we are all human, regardless of what casting slot or archetype we might occupy.
I mean, we're not just casting mindless himbos anymore. We're casting mindless himbos with surplus nipples.
Bonus nipples. I still think my favorite quote of the episode, though, was when David said something along the lines, I'm not saying I would want to milk myself, but what? Not only the nipples, but the self-milking? Very, very interesting.
If you are a dude and you are able to self-milk, I feel like you probably need to call your doctor.
Or they might need to do more strenuous drug testing, if that's the case. I mean, that would be interesting, though, on multiple levels. I mean, talk about Survivor's too easy in the new era. How much of a leg up would it be if you had, why cast the cow when you could get the milk for free?
You have David out there lactating all 4, and then I guess you know what, they're gonna have to vote somebody out. There's only 4 nipple slots. It's like when mothers
no,
like
Liana, don't put the image of Siva suckling at David's teats in our minds, okay?
Too late. It's already there.
This is that intro to that one episode of the Dana Carvey show all over again.
Oh my god.
If you don't know it, look it up.
I mean, but I love it though, because again, it just showcases how, to your point, this is such a vibesy cast. I love everyone razzing Kyle for him being like, I'm pretty sure this is just a really weird blemish on my finger that I've had for a decade.
Yeah, a callus. It was a callus. And then all of the individual confessionals with everyone else saying, that's a wart. Kyle, that's a wart.
Is callus or wart the new dirt or poop?
Yes, exactly. I mean, what will be interesting is that I think this perfectly tees up Kyle for a final tribal council speech where he says, listen, I know that we all had imperfect games, but I think warts and all, I played the best one out of the 3 of us.
He's got to hold up his finger.
And then I think David sits next to him saying, like, listen, I'm not going to milk my story at all. I think we just need, if any Siva players make it, you all have a bunch of puns now that you can utilize in your final tribal council.
I played an utterly perfect game.
Yeah, that's great. Chrissy was like, I really dug deep out of my belly button. I don't know.
I think is that the profile for the password for the Wi-Fi?
What, dig deep?
Dig deep into Chrissy's belly button 48?
I think my favorite part was when Chrissy was talking about that. It was, and this is what's so fun about Survivor is sometimes there's things that you think in life everybody experiences, right? Or everybody is like this. Then you go into a group of people you've never met before. You're sharing all these things, and Chrissy's like, "Yeah, I thought everybody had to dig into their belly button with a Q-tip to clean it out," and everybody else in the tribe was like, no, absolutely not." I love it. It's so fun.
Yeah, I'm expecting a storyline where like they support a clothesline off of it of like, all right, Chrissy, we could or like, could this be the new D's toe? I know people were talking about Charity's ragged toes. Could this be something though where maybe Chrissy's belly button ends up, maybe there's an endurance challenge where you have to like hold something, and as long as it doesn't fall below your waist, you're still in the game, and she ends up leaning this up against the apparent Mariana Trench, Robert Mariano Trench, that is her belly button, and she ends up getting the win as a result.
Yeah, that
R.I.P.
little
Chrissy's DMs.
a little bee trench. No, for me, it was the perfect place to hide an idol, especially with idols these days being just these like 4 beads.
Oh, could she say it's a belly button piercing?
Yeah, and then you just you just shove it in there. You're like, yeah, no, I've had this the entire time.
Yeah, me and the girls had like a wild night one time, and I decided, yeah, throw a bunch of beads on a feather and pierce my belly button with it, and I brought it into Survivor.
It's a new hiding place. That way, you know, you can search me. Feel free to search me. I don't have an idol.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's the next level from like PG trying to bring Flint in her earrings in Cambodia. Like, if you come in with a bunch of decorated merchandise as piercings, like, then it'll just be able to blend in pretty seamlessly with your general aesthetic.
I mean, you could go look and see the kinds of beads they have that they use. Deck yourself out. I got anklets, I got bracelets, I got earrings, I got necklaces. And then no one's going to know the difference when you have one extra piece of jewelry hiding in plain sight.
So it's like the Where's Waldo of immunity.
Yeah, exactly.
And that would be the true knowledge is power, right? If they brought that back of like, all right, can I have your idol? It's like, you can, if you can discern which one of my pieces of jewelry is the real idol.
Oh, and then it's a game. I love that.
Exactly. That'll be the next journey is like, okay, you have to slide around all the pieces of jewelry to find the correct one, and that'll be your advantage.
I still think they should be able to get to, because remember when, was it Carolyn who got who was it that got the idol making kit with Cochran?
Oh, that was
the
Debbie.
boat? Oh, Debbie. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
different quirky woman.
I was like, I can hear the conversation. Like you should be able to get to make your idol into another piece of jewelry. Like you should get the beads. The cryptex should contain the beads and then the string, and then you can make it into what you want, like for how you want to wear it. That way we get some personalization into these idols.
So it's like a reward and an advantage.
Exactly. And a craft.
Yeah, and I think that could be a fun way. Listen, these people are telling everybody else anyway about these cryptexes so that they could solve them. Like, what a nice bonding experience to be like, all right, everybody, let's do some arts and crafts. Let's all work on making my idol, please. That would be great. And that would also test the limits of your relationship because, like, look, you had Camilla solve the cryptex and hand the idol over to Kyle, which was obviously a big sign of trust. But how far would these people go to sit down and actually help weave and string up your own idol?
See, here's where, shout out to several seasons ago, not several seasons ago, a couple of seasons ago, sorry. Being a Swiftie would be a huge advantage in the Survivor game because you've made so many friendship bracelets. It's like someone will seek you out and be like, hey, look, I got this idol making kit. I have to make the idol before it works. And I need someone who can help me make something that looks like a convincing piece of jewelry. Because, okay, I'm taking it a step further. Not only your immunity idol is a bunch of beads and string and supplies. You have to make something out of it, but you also have to wear it in plain sight. And if somebody calls you out on it, so you have to make it look like a convincing enough piece of jewelry that nobody's going to call you out on having an idol.
Yeah, that's the new phrase at immunity, right? Like you got to do something that is the risk. That's always the thing. That seems to be what they're going for. There's got to be some inherent risk in getting the advantage.
Yeah, I'll wait my executive producer credit in the mail.
There you go. Yeah, that's what activates it or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say it is interesting to see now with all 3 cryptexes being found, how much that information is spreading. I mean, especially like on Loggy, 5 people knew. Like Star told 5 people about it essentially.
Yeah, what's interesting though is that okay, so she told Shaheen, who
she
then
told Joe. Joe wrote
Joe
Shaheen.
told Shaheen. Yes, and so I don't know if she wanted Shaheen to know, but she did purposely seek out Thomas and Bianca as a pair. So I mean, it ended up being like, okay, Eva is the only one that doesn't need to know, but yeah, I am very intrigued by her quite literally casting the net wide. Maybe she was like, Joe doesn't know how to solve this. Let me get the puzzle people on this. I should have gone to the puzzle people in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to whoever made this cryptex, by the way, because you can tell this is a person that plays a lot of Scrabble because they chose a word that was
Yes.
several commonly used words, and it could have been any one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we still
Okay.
don't have the final one. So we had listen was Vula in the first
Yep.
episode, and we had enlist, which
Yep.
like wow, didn't know that CBS was so in the pocket of the military, but here we are. And then so we have one more that we could still see.
Silent. Right?
Silent or tinsel.
Good
Okay,
one.
Puyi and I were actually talking about this yesterday. The fact
Lentils.
that we yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. Like silent and listen are they're survivor words. They feel very applicable. And then it was like, crap, we need a third word. What's the most relevant survivor word that we can come up with? Because tinsel, I mean, don't get me wrong, super fun, not really survivor themed. So I feel like enlist just just became the third by default because it was maybe the most survivor applicable. But silent and listen are so bang on. I love that.
Yeah, but you also have to enlist people to help you solve your cryptex.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So that's what they were going for all along.
Yeah, ironically enough, they despite Star not knowing the word, she kind of used that word's advice and was like, I feel like I should enlist people to do this.
How great would it be
everyone.
if she really had used the word? Like she's sitting there looking at it and she's like, I need to enlist somebody.
Yeah. Or like you take it as an order, like, listen, okay, what is it saying? I can't hear the
I hear the
cryptex. All right, well, let's get into everything going on with Vula this episode. I mean, to Liana's point, you know, I didn't exactly get the sense that Kevin was automatically going. I think there were a couple of these little editing tricks, right, with him talking about, yeah, everything's going my way. Even that scene of like him sitting Mary down and being like, just put your head down. I'm going to make the magic happen. It came across a little too much like this guy's very confident in what he's going to do. But I still did not expect this to turn the way it did. I mean, at least from my perspective, Jess, it almost seemed for a second that we could have gotten a 2-1-1 vote in episode 2 if Cedric and Justin decided for whatever reason to leave Say out of it.
I mean, that seems like, you know, if they want to be the ones that are the decision makers, that's what they should have done.
I didn't think Justin would have been the one that was gonna I didn't have that in my bingo card. I think so. That was the thing that was probably the most surprising to me. I mean, because what had we seen previous up to that? We had seen Justin and Kevin have a conversation in the woods where they're saying, "Look, we're the decision makers here." This would have been for episode 1. So I thought, oh, okay, we're seeing a bond form between the two of them, but I guess not because Justin seemed more connected to Cedric.
Yeah, and that's what Kevin pretty much confirmed to me and other people in Exit Press as well. He's like, yeah, I don't know why they showed us as the pair in the middle. We weren't that incredibly close. Like, his personality got on much more with Cedric. And so maybe that's an example of that, of Justin really feeling like this is too much and he's not so close to me that I need to keep him in from this perspective. So, yeah, I mean, it was clearly the last tribal council was all about strength versus loyalty, and they are just throwing strength out the window at this point, considering that with no offense to the others, I do think that, you know, Kevin was the physically strongest person. Look at that mask smashing from the first immunity challenge. Like, he had to go up against David and Joe. And so honestly, it's kind of audacious on their part, but also I wouldn't even say resignation as much as like rationalization of, listen, unless these are incredibly evenly matched challenges that don't require any physical tests of strength whatsoever, unless this is a take-home test, we're pretty much going to be going to tribal council multiple times here. So let's just put the cart before the horse and already start planning to get rid of people that might seem a bit seedier to my game, rather than, oh, this person's going to help us pull the rope slightly better in the next challenge.
Well, 2 episodes in, I think it's too early to call a Matt Singh, right?
They're going back to tribal. I don't know. I'll bet money on it that they're going to go back. I don't feel positive about this tribe's success in individual immunities. And I think it's a combination of them voting out strong players and then also just the other 2 tribes already being stacked. So I don't know. For me, I do kind of agree with Mike's assessment. For Justin, it kind of puts him in an interesting position because I felt like he was almost between maybe 2 pairs. If he considered Kevin and Mary a pair and then Say and Cedric as another pair. So for him, if he gets down, you're thinking, okay, then next time we vote out Mary. Then the time after that, I'm the odd man out if I feel like Cedric and Say are closer. So I do think that there's something about his relationship with Cedric. They might be quite close. I don't know. That's ultimately the decision that he went with, or he was nervous that Kevin and Mary were very close, and he thought, well, maybe he can get between Say and Cedric if he's thinking that far ahead.
Well, it kind of feels to me like nobody is counting Mary into anything. And like every single time they start talking about a vote, she's the poor decoy. And I feel really bad for the person who ends up being that person, because it's almost like they don't even register that she is, that she counts for anybody else.
Well, she didn't even have a vote this episode.
Yeah, she didn't even vote this episode.
So.
And I'm trying to think, like, I'm of a new era player who had, I wouldn't say like as rough of a start, because obviously that has a lot of definitions, but like think about the fact that Mary was the only person that didn't realize that Stephanie was going to be voted out. Stephanie herself realized it to the point where she played the shot in the dark. And then this episode, she was the only person outside of Kevin who was left out of the plan to get rid of Kevin. And so listen, it is very entertaining to see the fact that she ends both of these tribal councils wearing the exact same thing on her body and on her face, which is complete shock. At the same time, and I think the large reason why Vula is losing, I mean, I think a good contributor is, again, the strength disparity, but is the fact that there's just no cohesion going on with this group. And I think that is sort of representative of it, right? That like in these early votes, on paper, and we've seen it multiple times before, these should be very easy, slam dunk, unifying votes. And I think just due to a lot of the personality disparities, let's face it, between Say and Mary, they are so freaking fractured that they're even going to say like, yeah, we're pulling off this massive blindside on the person that was the swing vote in episode 1, but we're going to leave someone out of it still, despite the fact that there are only 5 tribe members.
It's blindsides within blindsides, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But can you really be blindsided if you never know what's going on?
Yeah, is it really a blindside?
Is it a blindside if you're always blind?
If a blindside falls in the woods and you don't hear it, is it still a blindside? No, I don't know. I mean, I look at their challenge performance, right? And Mary seemed to crush it on the first leg of the challenge. Then the second leg of the challenge, they were ahead of Orange. Yep. So yeah, I mean, maybe cohesion, but it felt like just Cedric couldn't get a handle on the balance. Like, that's the only reason why they went home. I didn't think that it was necessarily because of a lack of teamwork. I mean, I guess Kevin and Cedric didn't work together, but I didn't think that was like a communication-y teamwork kind of problem.
Yeah, well, I think no matter what, if they had reached it like 5 minutes ahead of Siva, Mitch Curry would have come through and just dropped the victory on them.
What a baller. I was so obsessed.
Literally.
I love Mitch. Oh, it was so clutch. And when David like grabs his head and like shoves his head, like they do this like headbutt kind of thing. It's like, oh yes. I mean, I had a feeling like they were gonna crush it in the tribal or in the immunity, because when all of their content is about their nipples, it's like, okay, we're not getting anything set up really here for them to go to tribal. But it was really impressive from Mitch. Good for him.
Really interesting episode for Mitch, because a really impressive, I would say, like 7-minute sequence where he has the, this really great dialogue with Jeff about him clarifying, what to do in conversations with him when he is stuttering, whether they should try to let him finish or, try to help him along, quote unquote. So I'm really glad, again, he was able to vocalize that, because I would imagine a lot of people have not had experience with people who stutter in their lives. And so I think it was really fantastically educational, not only for Jeff, but for all of us as well. And then he just like is absolutely sinking buckets at the end of it. But then it comes on the other side of things where like if Siva does end up going to tribal council, I don't know, Liana, he might be the person left out of the nipple suckling. Like he's really excelled in this challenge. But the previous hour or so, it showcased especially him coming back from the journey and deciding to be so upfront about his information, which I think does have benefits. I think it unfortunately kind of emboldens his position that he's not realizing he's in, which is like, there is a 4. And Charity did get herself in hot water initially, but Mitch is looking more and more dangerous as each day passes.
I know that did make me nervous for him when he has the conversation with Jeff before the immunity. There was a hot second where it's like, oh no, is this Mitch's boot episode? Oh no, please don't be Mitch's boot episode. I mean, the benefit is that now he has a block a vote. The unfortunate part is everybody knows about it. And also, it doesn't really matter if there's a 4-person majority going after you because you block one of those votes, it's still a 3-2. So it does seem a little bit dire for Mitch, at least in terms of the current social dynamics that are over on Siva. That being said, there's still a lot of time. And I think that this tribe is super strong and that there's a universe where they don't go to tribal at all. And that is able to, help Mitch get him to the merge. And then it's a completely different game from there.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's really, they don't even need to have strategy in the conversation yet, to be honest. Like, and we've seen that bite so many tribes in the butt coming through. Like, they spend so much time not going to tribal council, they kind of forget they have to eventually vote people out. And then once they get there, they don't have their stuff together. But I also want to call out the underhand free throw move.
Yes.
Yeah. Shout out to Rick Barry. That's amazing.
That's the way to do it. You gotta shoot grandma style. Like,
yes,
you're not getting style points out there. Like, you gotta sink it at the end of the day. And so that is the best way to guarantee. Liana, maybe you can speak to this from a physics perspective. Like, this is how you get the best arc. This is how you're able to aim a bit better because there's no backboard. That's the issue.
Exactly. There's no backboard, and also you're tired. So you want to try to use momentum as best as possible as you swing your arms upwards to try to get the ball going. But for me, one of the other physical feats in this episode was when Joe just launches the ball or the buoy, whatever it is, and Jeff Probst goes, "The Tom Brady of Survivor." Just like, okay, that's like quite high praise.
Okay, but also, this isn't football.
Yeah.
Couldn't he be the Michael Jordan of Survivor?
Booyah said in response to that, Jeff would milk Joe if he could.
Where's that gif of them reaching underneath the shelter and wiggling it back and forth to get the idol out of it?
Yeah. Which, speaking of Jeff phrases, sorry for you. I'm enjoying that. I'm happy with that becoming part of sort of the canon of Survivor. Sorry for you. The otherwise known as the losers is just not hitting for me.
Mean.
We need to move on from that, Jeff.
I think sorry for you is such. It is a humble trait in that it is so beautiful in how imperfect it is. Like, what an odd configuration of 3 words. What a choice of preposition. Sorry for you is like, it feels like it's doing, okay, I took a sentence and Google translated it into Mandarin and Google translated it into like Burmese and Google translated it into Portuguese and Google translated it back to English. Like, sorry for you. If I saw that printed on a t-shirt, like, it feels like there's a misprint somehow. I'd have to call the manufacturer. So it has that iconicness to it. But otherwise known as the losers, it's too wordy. It's not really a call. Like, you saw kind of the meek response to the call, answer the call. And to your point, Jess, it feels a little, and especially in this day and age where we're kind of experiencing these one disaster tribes that keep losing week after week every season, like, it does feel a little bit like him almost calling out one tribe. In fact, there was one season in 46 where he actually did equate one of the tribes to the losers.
Yeah, well, I think it needs to go off where Spin and Grin landed in the graveyard of catchphrases. Is Jeff Probst asking ChatGPT to help him come up with new Survivor catchphrases?
That's definitely a possibility. I don't know though. It's almost, maybe that's why it's so wordy. I feel like ChatGPT is always really wordy, so maybe otherwise known as the losers. That's where that came from. But I don't even think AI could come up with sorry for you.
Yeah, well, because he previously said, right, like, first tribe to finish gets immunity. Losers, I'll see you at tribal council where so-and-so will be the X person voted out of the tribe. So, like, losers has always been invited in there. Why does he feel that he needs, like, the EM dash, parenthetical of, like, otherwise known as?
Yes, otherwise. It's like, no, what are they being called? Like, what's the other term for them then if it's not the losers, right? It's not like we know what the other phrase is that you would need the otherwise
the
for.
People who win and the people who didn't win.
Yeah.
So the people who didn't win, otherwise known as the losers.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
no,
Could
that's
could he
even
could he
worse.
use some like shorthand? Could he say i.e. the losers,
AKA the losers,
aka
AKA the
e.g. the losers?
alias the losers.
Just call them the losers. Just be like, and the losers are coming to tribal council, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
again, that's
exactly
what he said
did.
beforehand.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. There's no need for the otherwise known as. Like, it's like, yes, the little symbol, otherwise known as Prince, right? Like, there's no need. There's no other name. Anyway, it's been really bothering me this season, so I'm happy we could talk about it.
Kim, before we move into the boot, otherwise known as Kevin, can we focus for a second on Loggy? Because I have seen some people get a little rankled, including Shaheen himself, at Thomas's sabotage idea, which is what would happen if this flimsy piece of fabric with a bunch of nice animals painted on it just disappeared? And some people, again, including Shaheen, felt that goes too far. Some feel like that is par for the course. Like, you gave it to me, not my fault if I lose it. Jess, where do you stand on all this?
Well, I feel like there's a lot of plausible deniability you could deploy here. Like, oh yeah, I had this thing. I'm not very good at keeping track of things. I got no executive functioning. It's gone. Sorry, lost it. My bad.
Sorry for you.
Sorry for you.
Sorry for you. Sorry for you.
But I
Man.
don't know. I think it's a little bit mean for the sake of mean. But on the other hand, you need those people in the game.
I'm kind of totally here for okay, here's the thing. The same thought ran through my brain, right? My thought was, oh, just don't solve it for her. That was my thought. I didn't think to lose it or to throw it away or something like that. But again, you have to think about how that action is going to be perceived by your fellow tribe mates. I had that thought, oh, I'm never going to say that out loud, especially because your work, unless you have the single person. So maybe if Thomas had said that to Bianca, that I would have understood. Or I don't know, maybe him and Shaheen are closer than we know. But because that kind of mentality, that's if they're learning about you as a game player. That's why I think in the early days of Survivor, like, be as blank as you possibly can. I mean, give people enough to know that you're sort of this just like nice, amiable person, but you never want to expose that you're this devious strategist that would be willing to throw something away to sabotage somebody, because that paints such a huge target on your back. We see this immediately backfire against Thomas when Shaheen has his confessional talking about, oh, that's scary. I'm noting that. Like, if he's willing to do that, what would he be willing to do in other situations? So to me, like, there's you can have the thought, but then what do you actually do with that? Or maybe you do just go accidentally lose it somewhere. I don't think anybody's probably going to believe you at that stage. But anyway, it's a very, very interesting discussion, because I think it also talks about when you are setting the norms for a season of Survivor, because those are the players that are coming together to essentially establish the unwritten rules of that season.
Social contract.
Exactly. You can have a season where maybe everybody's going to do that. But in this season, that is not the case. And I think Thomas is on an island in terms of people that would be willing to kind of take it to that next step of sabotage.
I think you gotta either not express the thought, or you gotta fully commit to the bit. And I think you have to be like a Rob Mariano level of manipulative to fully commit to the bit. Like, he shouldn't lose it. He should hold it hostage. And he should demand tribute before he does anything with it.
So be like, hey, so I figured it out. This is what I want in return.
Yeah. Listen, I was able to solve it. What's in it for me?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe that's the move. But again, I think it paints you, like, it just paints you so dangerously. And even when you can do the smallest thing that gets you into trouble. So
Yep.
for example, we had the Star versus Eva conflict and we got to see at least the show showed us what we think Eva said that was the thing that annoyed Star.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, at least from an outside observer watching it, Eva's suggestion didn't seem that bad. Of course, it comes with implications about Star's ability to compete in challenges, but it's not like the way that Eva said it was, yeah, so Star sucks at challenges, so definitely she should be the one that's sitting out. It was a could be considered a fairly innocuous comment. Like, I think that there's a universe where a different person hears that comment and nothing comes from it. So when any little teeny tiny thing can paint a target on your back or can anger someone against you, you just have to be so incredibly cautious with everything that you do and say and suggest.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I agree that I think what Eva was expressing was, especially from her perspective, like very matter of fact, right? Like, okay, we are the three physically strongest, and Thomas and Bianca work on the puzzles. I think the tough thing is, and I guess this is where Claire from 44's legacy continues, that they can't sit Star out at the next challenge. So I think the fear would have come from a different universe where Star's like, great, all right, you are just outing me as the weakest link, and so therefore I'm going to get set out of every single challenge from here on out. But I think for her, it probably also emboldens what she had confirmed in her head, which is like, nobody's talking with me. I'm
Mhm.
on the outs. They want to sit me out of this challenge against my will, so I am going to hit the beach running. And so maybe from that point, go ahead.
Well, the actual phrase was maybe Star could sit out, and it was said with an upwards inflection of a question mark. It wasn't
Yeah.
even a declarative sentence, and it was set with a maybe. So it's like, but I totally hear what you're saying. And if I was in Star's situation, that would you are looking for those clues that are going to confirm what you're feeling, or you're going to look for the clues that are going to help your social situation make sense. So I
Yep.
understand why she interpreted it that way. But I guess I'm using that as an example of you never know how things are going to be interpreted based on other people's perspectives, and those are all valid.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think maybe this is also why Star decides that 5, 6 of the tribe should know about this. And, there's a little nugget that I thought was really interesting was when she ends up going up to Thomas and Bianca, right? And she's like, I want to talk some game. And Thomas is like, I have been waiting. Like, it seems that what we're piecing together is that Star has really been trying to slow play this from the jump.
Mhm.
Maybe that contrasts with like her hitting the jungle like a mad woman, but then she comes back and is like totally not giving anything, which is also very interesting considering the disparity from, again, that energy level, that infectious enthusiasm that she brought in the preseason interview. I could see her going along with this logic of like, well, this information is something to connect me with people,
Mhm.
perhaps a bit belatedly. I think maybe it was a bit of like, not too little too late, too much too late at the same time. But we'll see. Again, if this tribe, sort of like Siva, doesn't end up losing, and I would say maybe Logi has a better chance of just clean sweeping than Siva does at this point, because it does seem like Siva has one Achilles heel in the form of puzzles. Like, if Star ends up getting to the merge, there could be a very good chance that she just ends up hopping over immediately, especially if she sort of feels this consternation or this outsider status continue to build over the course of days at a time. But to go back to the Thomas of it all, I totally co-sign what you say, Leon, of like, what a fun idea. I think for this is something that certainly has been kind of discussed with the recent discourse of the traders about how maybe people's respective reality TV experiences in terms of viewership kind of inform how much of an appetite they have for certain things that can happen in
Mhm.
the game. I mean, listen, even something like throwing a challenge has still caused a wide variety of discourse amongst the survivor community. So, like, I think it's a lot of fun, but I very much can see why people on and off the island would feel that that's taking things too far. I mean, even look at 46 when, like, I would not call this comparable, but like what Tiffany and Kenzie end up doing with Jess, right? Which is, we don't want her to play her shot in the dark, so let's make her think she has an idol by making this fake one and having her find it. That to me seemed even more so like, they knew that they had the idol. So it's not like they were necessarily preventing this massive thing. It's just a shot in the dark, but people would see that it feels kind of needlessly cruel or a bit like punching down to have her wander around here. This feels a little bit different to me. Like, if Thomas felt like there was a threat of Star having an idol and he has the way to actively block that, he can, but it doesn't matter what I think. It matters most importantly, what Shaheen and what the rest of Logi feels about it. They are the ones that determine what are the morals that are going to exist within this society that they set up. And so it's a big leap of faith to come out and say, yeah, I'm just going to misplace this thing. Wouldn't that be fun on like the 4th day of knowing each other?
That is such a like that's a character moment where it's, and again with Shaheen saying, well, that's an intense way to play the game, right? You immediately flag that kind of behavior, and whether or not that's something, maybe there's another person who Thomas says that to and they go, this is my guy. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, this is the guy I want to play with, someone who's thinking this deviously. I want to play with someone who's like this. So it like so depends on just these individual micro interactions. And I think that, again, this is what makes Survivor so freaking fascinating, because you have the big discussion about, oh, how should this go? But then you have actually what's going to happen as a consequence of making this decision. And I really can't wait. I think that, especially with Thomas coming back after the journey, I think that Shaheen is going to be like, this guy could be lying. This guy, we know this guy, how devious this guy is. And maybe, who knows, maybe Star freaking survives if they end up going. And someone like Thomas or Bianca, as a consequence of being close to Thomas, ends up going because they're threatened by Thomas. Like, who knows? This could have been the thing that sets this course in motion in a completely different direction.
The butterfly flapping its wings.
Exactly.
And I hear those are just dead people saying hi. I do, to your point, Liana, like, I do kind of like the idea of using something like this, maybe not as intense, but like as a barometer to trust test people by going around being like, I'm going to throw out this comment, see how you react to it, and that's going to determine whether or not I should trust you. Again, I'm trying to figure out what that would be, because I don't want it to be as extreme as this, because if enough people know about, oh, Thomas is going to try to purposely lose and sabotage Star, that's not good. I don't even know if something as intense as like throwing a challenge, because that could also put you under the bus. Is there something that you could use as like a blank canvas to try out on multiple people that won't get you in trouble, but will also flag to you like, okay, I know whether or not I can trust them?
Just like a secret catchphrase.
Yeah,
to see
exactly.
if people are in the know. We could establish it right here and now.
That's what I'm thinking. Okay, so when you say, because I think there's a difference between trust and finding the kind of person you want to play with.
Yes, as I just say, more so feeling out like we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, it's like the secret password that allows you to unlock what somebody's true intentions are, which, you know, people that can figure that out on their own are very good at Survivor because they know which mask to put up. But now it's like we get a free pass.
Is it, I guess it depends on what you're looking for. So if I'm looking, let's say I want to play with someone who, oh, yes, maybe I want to play with someone who is like super loyal, right? Because I want to be the devious one. So then maybe it is something along those lines, and you want them to reject the idea. Like, nah, man, come on, we could never do that.
I figured it out.
Okay, tell me.
So you can come up with this idea, but you need to communicate it second-handedly. What Thomas should have done was go up to Shaheen and say, Bianca just came to me with this wild idea. Here's the paper. What if we lost it? What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Because what that implies is like, I'm bringing you in as someone to bounce ideas off of. I don't believe it. Bianca said it. I don't know what to think. You tell me what to think.
And then also, depending on the reaction, if you can see Shaheen initially pulls back, be like, she suggested that. Like, you can see the concern. Like, you can be like, yeah, man. And kind of give like one of those looks, like get a little of this shit. It's gonna be a problem. Is this gonna be a problem? And then try to like get him to say, oh yeah, no, like that person's gonna be a problem. It's kind of the same conversation when Kevin and Justin and Cedric were all kind of talking a little bit about Say, where it was, you know, yeah, is this person going to be a threat? You know, kind of like gauging that, whether or not this person is going to be a threat to you. So I love that, Mike. I think that's fantastic. The secondhand concept is always going to be valuable. Maybe you should do that for every idea you have.
you need like, no, you need like a fall person. You need to create this sort of like George Glass individual that will be like, oh, I can't believe this person came up with the idea of voting for Mary out. What do you think about that?
Should we consider that?
Or like George is loco, right? You disagree with this idea?
David's 4 nipples. Am I right? Yeah, I think that's great. I love this.
All right, well, let's move on. I'm
gonna start using this like for everything.
I'm gonna use this for work.
Oh no! Yeah. Oh no!
I'd be like, oh yeah, so-and-so had this idea. What do you think about that? Is it like really smart? Is it like the most brilliant idea you've ever heard?
Listen, like I am far from the person you should listen to for life advice, but like I think you could find much worse advice than that. Never be completely honest. Accountability is great, but culpability is worse.
All right, let me just write that down. That's
right,
a new
well-
Jeff catchphrase, actually.
Let's move on here and talk about our boot. I'm looking for a man in
Mm.
finance, and we have found him in the form of Kevin. Jess, I want to get your thoughts about Kevin because, again, he went through a lot in these 2 episodes.
I think Kevin, it was like we were saying about Amazing Race. Like Kevin had the full Survivor experience in 2 episodes.
He did more in 5 days than some people do in 5 seasons on the show.
Wow, that was shady.
Don't name names. Well, I heard that Mike said that was about. Okay, what did he do? He popped out his shoulder. Medical called for him. That's like, I don't know. I feel like that counts as like 2 somehow. What else happened? He got to see an idol play.
He got to see an idol play. He ended up becoming the hero of his tribe hours after dislocating his shoulder by winning a challenge kind of by default. He ended up becoming the swing vote in the very first vote.
Yeah.
He got blindsided in the very next vote.
Got to see someone play their shot in the dark.
Yep.
Like really hit every single, check all those boxes off.
Yeah, check the bucket list. Like if you're not going to win, I think maybe the best thing is to get it all out of the way and get out early and go on vacation.
Yeah, speedrun Survivor.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Speedrunning Survivor.
Yeah, you want to fill your cup, but it was like Kyle pouring all the water out of the jug, just like absolute cascading in his face.
This is what I'm gonna do if I'm ever cast on Survivor. I'm just gonna try to knock out every single Survivor experience because I'm not winning. I'm not going far. Like get me voted out second or third, and I will just hit all the marks before I get there.
I'm excited to see Kyle in next episode being like, what did I even bother to help you for, man?
I thought you were strong. I thought you would at least make the merge.
Take care of your shit, man. Come on.
All right.
Kevin.
Well, Liana, did you think Kevin was going to take care of his shit in the preseason? How did you think he was going to do?
Yeah, I had Kevin making the jury. All right. Kevin did his best to drag a limping Vula tribe through the pre-merge, but slaughter occurred throughout the process. After losing his closest ally in Justin, Kevin was forced to pair up with Mary as the only 2 remaining Vula members going into the jury phase of the game.
Wow.
Without numbers, Kevin was an easy target for the powerhouse alliance of Eva, Shaheen, and Joe. Siva not wanting to piss off the Storm Chasers, which I believe is the alliance of Eva, Shaheen, and Joe.
The Storm Chasers?
Did you fully Brant steal this season?
Is this a Twisters reference?
I think I was thinking, I was like, I need something strong. They're like a strong kind of powerhouse. What's like powerful? Tornadoes are powerful. Okay, I'm not gonna name them the tornadoes.
You wanted Storm Chasers. You got California Girls.
Yeah, the next best thing.
It's essentially the same thing. Anyway, so Siva, not wanting to piss off Storm Chasers, trademark, agreed to oust Kevin. Kevin also goes on a journey, gaining an extra vote, which he attempts to use during his boot episode. Obviously, that fails. His allies were Justin and Mary, and his enemies was the producers for putting him on Vula.
Aww.
Essentially, Vula. I mean, obviously, Vula is going to get slaughtered in my preseason predictions.
I mean, well done for predicting Vula as the disaster tribe.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the other ones, and
well, I mean, listen, I think all this entire season of predictions is going to be kind of the equivalent of like me smashing my jug proverbially, because like again, I had the chance to go out there and see what happened in the first few days, and my prediction for Kevin is going to line up with that. And so, Liana, you should be the one more so commended than me for actually like taking the jump off of the platform as they did in this episode and being like, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen, because obviously me seeing what happened with Kevin on the first day very much colored how I thought he would do the rest of the game. Now, look, for what it's worth, when I saw him at the challenge and at Tribal Council, his arm was like not in a sling whatsoever, but look, shoulder injuries can be very tough. We saw that with Matthew in season 44. And so I did have him going pre-jury. I said that the Chaos King of Vula, Kevin, rules the roost alongside his partner in crime, Say, who he linked up with after she brought him in on her idol. Unfortunately, Kevin's dominion is like being the Beeper King. The crown looks nice, especially on his well-coiffed head, but a king of ashes is no king at all. As Vula continues its losing streak, we'll get a hashtag Survivor breakdown segment from Kevin, where he talks about growing up as the underdog physically. Unfortunately, it fails to translate into any success for his tribe proper. What's more, Kevin having to participate in every challenge on top of the malnutrition from losing rewards begins to mount on him. Towards the middle of the pre-merge, Say has to debate whether she wants to keep her closest ally around, despite how ailing he is. In the end, in a tribal council of only 3 players, Say decides to side with Justin. Sounds like a tongue twister in and of itself. Say decides to side. She ends up cutting Kevin, who looks absolutely crushed as he realizes this is far from the Survivor experience he long envisioned. His closest ally was Say, and his enemy was, quote, and Jeff, please do not use this phrase moving forward, the amniotic mud.
When he was birthed into Survivor. Yes. Okay, that's a great phrase. I love that.
The amniotic mud.
I love the amniotic mud, and I think
it's gonna be the name of my experimental prog rock band.
Yeah, I was thinking some performance art, but same thing. Yeah, okay, the amniotic mud. That's the official term. That's the official B&B term.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, oh, yeah, well, and now we know, like, to caution yourself, because what Kevin explained with how he dislocated his shoulder was that, like, he was holding up the net and, like, trying to put his other hand down, and he thought the mud was much more shallow than it was, and so it kind of, like, forced himself down in the moment. And so, yeah, people got to watch out for that amniotic mud at the end of the day, because it's caused, what, 2 day 1 injuries now out of 8? That's not a great ratio.
No, that's not a great ratio. And like, obviously I understand Jeff wants them to be birthed into Survivor, but it's a high injury rate coming from, like, our birthing statistics are not exactly that good.
Yeah, we need better birthing practices.
Yeah, we need better. Okay, great. So I made I put on my calendar around when the premiere of next season is going to be amniotic mud, and I'm hoping I remember what that is. So
you're going to go onto some sort of website to try to find, like, you know, next to Gwyneth Paltrow's, like, crystal eggs are going to be amniotic mud.
I feel like your calendar must be just littered with random nonsense words.
Yeah. Yep. I put things for me to remember from the B&B, and then I come across them and I have no idea what it means. And it's like a mystery trying to unravel what happened.
Fair, they make even less sense in context than they do out of context.
You're kind of giving yourself your own little escape room challenges.
Yeah, I just really love puzzles.
Yeah, unscramble
your past self.
I wonder what amniotic mud unscrambles to.
Yeah, what's the anagram for amniotic mud?
All right,
amniotic mud sounds like the anagram of someone's name. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
like the type of anagram clue we would give on Survivor.
All right, well, while I try to figure this out, Jess, it is up to you. Who do you want to give the point to for the more on the nose prediction or on the shoulder of Kevin's fate?
I mean, I can't get over Liana's prediction of the disaster tribe. I think I got to give it to her.
And I wasn't even out there, Mike.
Yeah, exactly. I'm definitely playing with a bit of a handicap here. Here's some anagrams for amniotic mud.
Ooh,
Let's see. Anti-modicum, which means that you are a lot. Acid unit mum, which is like a good term for one of those mothers out there. Let's see.
Mimic a donut.
Oh, I like mimic a donut.
In atomic mud is another one.
Oh, that would be definitely amping up the fun danger of, like, you can crawl through the mud, but don't stay in there too long. Like, you'll end up with 4 nipples.
Exactly. This mud sourced directly from Chernobyl.
Can't idiom.
Ooh.
Can't idiom. Yeah, man cut idiom. Yeah, there's a lot of good ones. Okay, great.
A lot of good ones here. Well, hopefully the game I have prepared will be just as entertaining as looking up anagrams for amniotic mud. It's a low bar, but hopefully we can crawl through it much like said mud. So listen, this episode was called Humble Traits, but I prepared a game called Bumble Traits. And look, we are 3 happily married individuals on this podcast, so I don't really know much about Bumble, but I would believe that it is associated with, dating profiles, details that you would like to know about the other person. And so, to Jess's point, we're still getting to know these people. And in fact, if we knew these people, we knew brand new things about them at the start of episode 2. And so what I thought I would do is submit some blind items of blurbs from these people's bios. And
Okay.
so you are going to try to guess whose bio I pulled it from. These are all from Survivor 48 contestants. It does include Stephanie. It does include Kevin. So you are looking at
Okay.
all
Everyone.
18 possibilities. We will go back and forth and we'll see if you're able to accurately discern who has those Bumble traits.
I barely know who anybody is on this season. So,
And that's good as well. It's a bit of a blank slate of like, okay, what do I think? What I assign these pet peeves, these hobbies, these words to? And then you can see whether your judgment lines up with their judgment of themselves.
Yes. And this is always very interesting because I feel like the bios. So when Mike had actually asked me how much I remembered from the bios, to which I told him I did not read them because to me, the bios, because I blame Jesse from season 43 for this because his bio was so different from his interview. And so for me, because the bios I think come from semifinals, so I don't look at the bios. I only listen to the interviews because that's the thing that they're going to do right before they go play. So it's going to be really interesting to see if we actually think that the bios also like not only can we guess it, but will they line up with the person at least that we've seen so far. This is very intriguing to me and I'm excited.
All right, well, Liana, for that effusive praise, I'll have you go first. Flattery will get you everywhere.
Okay.
So this is from the bio of one Survivor 48 contestant. This first section is going to be one of the first things they ask from them in the bio is 3 words to describe you.
Yes.
So I'm going to give them the 3 words that they use to describe themselves, and you can try to guess who that is.
Okay.
Badass, lucky, generous.
Ooh. Badass, lucky, generous. Okay, see, this is also very interesting because I'm like, who would describe themselves as a badass?
Or lucky.
Or lucky. What was the other one?
Generous.
I am going to go with charity.
Okay, well, that was very on the nose given her name. Unfortunately, that is incorrect.
Uh-oh.
You know what, Jess, I'll give you a guess as well, because we are really talking about all 18 people, so I'll give each of you a guess at these. Who do you think it might apply to? Badass, lucky, generous.
And it's somebody from this tribe, from this season.
Yes, someone from this season.
Yes,
God, that would have been even harder if I'm like, choose between anyone from the new era. I did think for a second I might have done like a swipe left, swipe right, even though that's not Bumble of like, was this a 48 player or any other player in the new era? But that would be way too hard.
Did they not do that on Bumble? Is that I thought that was a thing on the apps that you
I think it was
the swipe.
I thought Tinder was more so swiping.
Oh. I don't know.
I think you swipe on all of them now because I think they're all like off of the website and on the apps.
True.
You because otherwise on Bumble, how do you discern between the people that you're interested in or not?
You give them a B or honey.
It's to be or not to be.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so much better. Because the B would be the negative one then, I think, in Mike's.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess the honey
design
would be the good one, right? And the B would be
honey would be the good one.
You get the honey or you give them the honey or the sting.
Bee sting.
All right, Jess. Badass, lucky, generous.
Badass, lucky, generous. Can we go with the Nipple King?
It is not the Nipple King, but it is close to him, considering it is in his tribe, donning the same buff. It is Chrissy.
Oh, Chrissy. Okay, yeah, I could see that.
I'm always intrigued by people who describe themselves as lucky.
Well, the lucky thing, that was actually what really got me. And I was thinking about Charity from her being able to start her online business, that she felt like, oh yeah, I kind of got lucky, like getting the traction up and running. But I think you can apply the same logic to Chrissy because she had been through, she's had so many sort of random things that have led to her next career. It's like, oh, she wandered into the, firehouse or whatever, and then like got the thing. And so I think that would be a good apt fit for her. But so the Nipple King situation. Okay.
Oh,
so
yeah, give us an update on this.
Puya was like, Puya, aka the OG Nipple King, he was like, that's not fair. Like, David's coming from my gig. And as the wife of the Nipple King, please, David, take the Nipple King moniker away because I don't want
Steal
to be
the
the
crown.
wife of the nipple queen. Like
I was gonna say, like, if
you
you like Liana, as much as you're trying to separate from this, I'm pretty sure the wife of the Nipple King is the Nipple Queen by
Well, it
royal law.
I
depends.
don't want to be the
Oh.
nipple queen.
It depends. She could just be the Nipple King's consort. It
Oh,
depends
that's
on
very
like
true.
what
I'd rather be
title
that,
they
actually.
decide to
Yeah,
bestow.
you could be
No
the Camilla
royalty.
of the Nipple Kingdom.
Which
Nipple
weirdly
princess.
I'd rather have. Yeah, I'd rather have that. So David can be the Nipple King as far as I'm concerned. But
All
anyway,
right.
okay.
Up to you, David. Next up, it is up to you, Jess, to determine these next 3 words to describe the Survivor 48 contestant. Silly, expressive, impatient.
Impatient. That's an interesting one. Silly, expressive, impatient. Who's acting fast on the show and who's
Acting fast, acting loose, baby.
let me see. I'm gonna go with, was it Star?
Star is incorrect. Liana, do you want to make a guess?
I think I actually remember this one from the interviews.
Okay.
And I believe that this person described themselves as impatient. And I believe it is someone who is on my own draft team, Camilla.
That is correct. Good memory, Liana. Camilla does indeed describe herself as silly,
Yes.
expressive, and impatient.
And that's consistent with then what she also talked about with you. So okay, I like the synergy there.
All right, well, let's see if you can continue the streak here with this next one. Outgoing, emotional, loyal.
I feel like everyone's going to describe themselves as outgoing, but like, okay.
And that's why obviously I didn't go with all 18 because there are some that are, 3 very nice words to describe themselves that everyone else uses. So I tried to go for some of the more unique ones.
Yeah. No, that's fair. The first person that came into my head was Joe, so I'm just going to go with Joe.
That is incorrect. Jess, outgoing, emotional, loyal.
Outgoing, emotional, loyal. Is this one Charity?
It is not. It is, and this is very funny in retrospect, Thomas.
Loyal? I mean, I guess actually, okay, hold on. I may guffaw, but in fact, I think he was being he told Shaheen exactly what the plan was. He was being loyal to the California girls, right? It was throwing Star under the bus.
See, that's the thing is like Tony was disloyal to a lot of people, but he was loyal to Woo at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You can be incredibly devious to the people you're not loyal to and still be loyal, right?
All right. Jess, back to you here. 3 words to describe this person. Chaotic. Dynamic.
Okay.
Thoughtful.
Chaotic, dynamic. How can you be chaotic and thoughtful at the same time?
I think that's where the chaos comes in.
God, that is...
That's quite dynamic. What did you say?
That's something. That's something. Chaotic, dynamic, thoughtful. Who's been chaotic so far?
Who hasn't been chaotic so far, I think is the better question.
It's got to be someone on Vula, right? Who haven't we said yet?
Chaos.
See, we haven't said anybody except for Chrissy, Camilla, and Thomas. I can confirm that those 3 are off the table for this one.
Okay. That's something.
You got a nice 15 to parse through.
Narrowed it down.
Was it Mary?
That is correct.
Okay, because I was running through Vula and I was like, it's not Cedric, it's not Justin. I was like, okay, so Mary could be a really good option. I think that's great.
Yeah, I think that Mary maybe represents all of those complexities there of somehow being chaotic and thoughtful at the same time.
Yeah. She's a cipher.
I might not get to your birthday party on time, but I'll have your present ready. Don't worry.
Very thoughtful.
All right, Liana, back to you.
Yeah.
Dependable. Determined. Conscientious.
Okay. Okay, again, I was going to say Joe, but that's not my answer. Conscientious. Who would pick conscientious as their word?
Someone who was reading the thesaurus at Ponderosa.
I am going. Oh, is it Cedric?
That is correct.
Oh, the MD would put that. Okay. All right, bud doctor,
Makes
let's
sense.
go.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to like make up for again that career by using as many big words as possible. Like, no, I have a doctorate. Damn it! Doesn't matter what part of the body I study. I know what conscientious means.
I might not be a neurologist, but I do understand.
I mean, I want the person operating on my butt to be conscientious.
Yeah, I mean, and dependable and determined. Like, I think that those are all very important traits for your surgeon to have.
Yes.
All right, Jess, back to you. Hilarious, smooth, laugh out loud funny.
Hilarious, smooth, and laugh out loud funny.
So maybe this person was using the
Smooth, eh?
thesaurus.
That's way more than 3 words.
I guess if you try to hyphenate them.
You know, that's a dirty trick to get your word count down.
It's
Hilarious, smooth, and laugh out loud funny.
Yeah, see, I'm going in almost entirely blind to this. So I'm just trying to think of like who said the funniest things this episode.
Wait, hilarious and laugh out loud funny?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
someone had the thesaurus and only looked at one page.
I know the rest.
What's the difference between I think laugh out loud funny is more funny than hilarious.
That's a
What
good
is
question.
the,
Like, what's the
we're
scale?
splitting a hair here.
It's
Like-
I mean, listen, it's important. There are times when I know people in online discourse who will use laugh out loud when they actually think it's really, really funny. And if they're trying to just acknowledge, like, oh, you made a joke, it's ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah, is there a gentle chuckle or is there an outright guffaw?
Mhm.
But hilarious is not like funny. Like your hilarious is more funny than funny.
Well, that's a good. What's the sliding scale? I mean,
This is-
hilarious is extremely amusing.
This is also one of those ones where if you have to tell people you are you really?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Let alone twice over.
You should have just made a joke. Maybe that was the joke. It's like things I hate, irony and lists or whatever.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like 3 words to describe you, indescribable.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
That's good. I'd put that. That's fantastic.
Doesn't get you cast on Survivor though.
Okay, wait. Who is it? Is it who's guessing? Am I guessing?
Jess.
Oh,
is
Jess
I'm
is
guessing,
okay.
but I could pass 'cause I have no idea.
Throw a name out there. Quite literally shot in the
Pass.
dark.
All right, Justin.
That is incorrect, Liana. You have a guess?
Okay, my gut was David. And I think because the smooth, I was thinking of his chest being so smooth, except for those like.
What do you think it was like? What words to describe myself?
But his chest is
Smooth,
not smooth. It is interrupted by both.
nipply, biceps. Those are the 3 words to describe me.
And chocolate milk.
No, and
Oh,
unfortunately, it's
David.
not David. It was
Aw.
Star that describes herself as hilarious, smooth, and laugh out loud
Okay.
funny.
Interesting. Okay.
All right, well, let's crank this up a notch, shall we? So we
Oh.
moved away from the 3 words. Now we are getting into the Armstrong special. I'm not talking about Armstrong of David
Okay.
Kinney. I'm going to be reading off some favorite hobbies and some pet peeves
Okay.
of a player, and you have to guess who they are.
Okay.
We're going to start with you, Liana.
Yep.
Folks who miss the forest for the trees, / inability to see big picture / lack of appreciation, being interrupted. I love the sound of my voice.
Okay, that is Shaheen.
That is correct.
I know that one because when that was what Taryn said when he picked Shaheen first, which annoyed and pissed Puya off. So that's how I remember it. It's emblazoned in my brain.
There we go. I did like the use of slashes as well. Like he
Mhm.
was almost writing some sort of, I don't know, Emily Dickinson poem in his pet peeves.
Yeah. Again, get down that word count.
All right, Jess, to you. Favorite hobbies for this next person. Growing my herbs, parentheses, I'm obsessed with them. Board games, clamming, and reading.
Clamming?
Clamming.
Who's from the
Clamming.
Pacific Northwest. I feel like that's where they clam. It's like the New England and Washington State. That's where you clam. Growing my herbs.
Mm-hmm. So growing my herbs, parentheses, I'm obsessed with them. Board games, clamming, and reading.
Okay. All right. And are we repeating people from the previous round?
I will say that we can, yes.
Okay. Huh.
The clamming one is interesting because obviously
Yeah.
it's got to be
That's
someone
why I
who's
picked
near a
it.
coast, right?
Yeah, who's coastal?
Who's near a clam?
Who's near? Who's closest to clams? Proximity to clams.
Well,
being
Liana,
the
you are
key
the closest
metric
to
here.
clam
I
by,
know.
your pet.
I also like clamming. Oh, I actually don't know. I don't know what that means in that context. Yeah, and also somewhere you can go. I guess you can grow herbs year round inside.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not worried about that. You can grow those just about anywhere.
And she also needs to be near a book and a board game. That really limits the geography.
Yeah, because, there's some places where they don't have those.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, some places they don't allow reading anymore.
I'm saying. Yeah, like, where are you still allowed to get books out of the library?
where do
There are
libraries
places you have more likely the opportunity to clam than you are to read.
Well, let's go with the other puzzle person that we haven't talked about yet. Is it Bianca?
That is correct.
Yes.
Yes. When Mike said she, I was like, okay.
Yeah,
let me run through the women.
that really
It
narrowed
caught
it
me.
Yeah. Okay. So she's a clammer. That's
She's
so
a
fun.
clammer.
Good for her. Wait, where does she live? I thought
So
she was.
it's I cut out a
Jersey?
bunch of other stuff that gave away the ghost from the bio, which is like going to the Jersey Shore, talking about how much I love New Jersey, and then also clamming. And while she is a clammer, unfortunately has not caused much of a clamor in the edit yet, but I'm excited to see her come out eventually. Liana, back to you here.
Yes.
Favorite hobbies: horse racing and listening to sports talk radio.
Horse racing and sports talk radio. So the horse racing might not necessarily be they specifically are riding the horse. Like it
if
could
they
be
were, I think they would lead with that with every single thing they said.
Well, like, I don't know. You don't know. So who?
You don't know who's a jockey? Is that your way of thinking about life?
Okay. No. Maybe it's like a hobby. You know what I'm saying? Like I like riding horses and horse racing. Not that I'm a jockey per se.
Yeah. Do you ride the horses or do you just go to the track a lot? Because I feel like those are two different things.
Yeah, so I think they're implying the latter.
Yeah, I think it's someone who goes to track, especially because of the connection with sports talk radio. Okay, so who would be into sports gambling? Because I assume that's why they're going to the track. What were the other things? Can you say it again?
It was just horse racing and listening to sports talk radio.
Oh God. See, I don't think Joe, Joe, apparently Joe is the name that's on my mind right now. He's like the first person that popped in my head. Maybe I think because of the sports, like the sport connection. I don't think Eva is into horses. I think it's a man. I don't think it's Justin. I don't think it's Cedric. Wait, I don't think it's.
Remember that you can say people that have been said before.
Is it Justin?
It is Justin. That is correct.
It is Justin. Interesting. Okay. So yeah. Okay.
Mr. Triple Crown right now. Yeah. I want to see what his derby hat is.
Oh, I would love to see him all decked out.
It's a pizza.
It's just a pizza on your head.
Pizza.
It's like a,
Yeah.
I will also say pet peeves, not reusing / recycling something, and pants without pockets, parentheses, useless.
Oh my gosh. See, if you had read that one, I would have immediately thought a woman, because frequently pants that are designed for women do not have pockets, and it's so annoying. But I completely agree with him on that. Those are very good pet peeves.
Yeah, you can't fit your pizza cutter in them if there's no pockets.
There's no pocket. Where are you supposed to put your chicken cutlets?
See, this is why cargo pants are great. You got a hammer loop for your pizza cutter.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, Jess, and I'll read both hobbies and pet peeves.
Okay.
They're sort of linked up here. Favorite hobbies: water sports, rollerblading. Pet peeves: lazy people, wet socks.
Hmm.
Well, wet socks is a sensory thing, isn't it?
Could be.
This could be Eva.
That is correct.
Okay, I was like, would she put rollerblade? Because hockey.
She plays hockey, yeah.
I know, but then it felt too on the nose
AKA
somehow.
no ice hockey.
Only rollerblading.
I must be in fast motion at all times. I mean, I agree, Jess, I think it's a sensory thing, but I love the link of love, water sports, hate, wet socks. Like, this feels like an eternal conundrum.
No, you don't wear socks to compete in water sports.
Maybe it's like because her sweat, because you know how hockey skates, like, they can be a bit rank, right? Because they get so sweaty. So maybe it's wet socks from that perspective in your kind of like gross, skate.
Also, like, don't go on Survivor if wet socks are a big problem for you.
Wait, can we also, I need to point this out. Did you all see how Mary got in the boat?
No.
Okay, so Mary obviously gets picked for the journey, perhaps controversially, because Say tried to have the practice round not be the practice round, and then Mary ended up going and Say's like, we should have just made the practice round non-canonical. And so Mary, I'm assuming because she doesn't want to get her shoe wet, she, like, goes headfirst into the boat and is, like, trying to throw herself overboard. It is such an odd way to board a boat that makes it feel like she has never seen a boat in her life.
Like, how might I put myself in this aquatic vessel? That's great. I'm going to go back and watch that.
I mean, succeeded in her goal. She lost her vote, but she did not lose the dryness in her socks.
Yeah.
All right.
Eva would have appreciated.
Tight score here. Liana, back to you.
Okay.
Talk about some pet peeves here.
Okay.
And I guess we'll stick with the moisture element here because we have people who say the word moist, people who smack when they chew, and people who pronounce the word salmon incorrectly.
Shoot. Oh, no. We talked about this one. On the draft.
This is also a memory test from the draft for you.
Yes, because we discussed salmon. Because we were trying to figure out how is it the mispronouncing? Like, how is it that you would mispronounce salmon?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I don't remember. So we are going to just guess someone. And that guess is going to be Charity.
That is incorrect. Like a salmon swimming upstream, Liana. Tough sledding for you. Jess, any guess for people who use the word moist, people who smack when they chew, and people who pronounce the word salmon incorrectly?
Salmon.
I don't know. Was this Stephanie?
No, this was Say.
Salmon.
Maybe that was what caused the schism between her and Stephanie. But Stephanie's like, we could get some foil and grill some salmon up. She's like, you're dead to me.
I hate you so much.
Yeah, I'm an open, transparent player. I know how to pronounce salmon correctly. Do you, Mary?
You know what? I heard Mary just pronounce salmon.
Yeah.
Isn't that why? Is that what do you think about?
Just to clarify, do you think that's the correct way to pronounce it?
Yeah.
All right. Next up here, back to Jess.
Mm-hmm.
So here are a couple of hobby pet peeves pairing, much like salmon with some nice lemon. Favorite hobbies: working out. I love cardio, but I also like to eat junk food, so it equals out. Pet peeves: when someone doesn't wipe off gym equipment and leaves it all sweaty. Gross.
Gross.
Ew. I mean, but who out there is not wiping it down before they get on it to begin with?
I think you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
I
Wipe
don't
it
know,
down
man.
after.
Liana, did you just out yourself?
You do it
Wipe it
before and
beforehand.
after.
My humble trait is I don't wipe down the gym equipment until after I use it.
I mean, I'm just gonna take the risk. On a weird note, I've had this wart on my back.
Yeah, I've had this callus.
It's
It's a blood
unrelated.
blister.
Yeah, on the unrelated note, I'm covered in calluses.
I don't know who's in really good shape.
Good
That's a
luck
good
picking one of
question.
those people from the sketch.
the whole season.
Is it Joe?
It is not Joe. Liana, would you like to venture a guess?
I just feel like this is so bait to say David, but if it's not David, I'm gonna be more upset with myself than if it's someone else. So I'm gonna
Well,
go with David.
If I had a nickel every time somebody said they'd be baiting about David. A lot of nickels here. No.
I had a nipple for every time somebody said
Yeah,
that.
what a master.
I have 4 nipples, which is a lot, and that is saying something.
That's more nipples than most people have.
Was it Mitch?
No, it was Chrissy again.
Oh, okay.
Chrissy's had one of the more fun bios. Again, like I think
Yeah,
her
that's a good
personality's
bio.
kind of peeking out at these random instances, but I love that like she described herself as lucky. And here she's like, when someone doesn't wipe off gym equipment, gross.
Gross.
All right, Liana, back
Yes.
to you.
Okay.
Here's some pet peeves.
Yes.
Rude people,
Mm.
selfish people, mean people,
Mhm.
bad hugs, people who don't make eye contact, basically anything acting like a butthole.
Well, it's not Cedric.
Could be. It could be like, don't bring my work outside.
Don't bring my work out here. Okay, so I do remember we discussed bad hugs because we were talking about what a bad hug looks like, and then we were talking about hugging each other, and then it kind of devolved, and none of that is actually relevant to discussing the person. I'm trying to remember who it was about. Oh, yes, I remember. It was about Joe because it was my pick and we were talking about the hugs. So I'm going to say Joe.
That is correct. And yes, I
Yes.
mean, the bad
Okay.
hugs are interesting. I am obsessed with basically anything acting like a butthole because he does not say anyone. He specifies anything acting like a butthole.
Anything that, acts like a butthole. That's good. It's a catch-all.
I admire your restraint not going full bloom on this one, Mike.
I mean, we're already kind of mired in it at this point. Like, look around. The butthole has been inside of all of us all along.
All along.
We're just trapped in the amniotic mud here.
Exactly. I'm like, is he going around being like, God, that piece of paper blew in my face? What a butthole this thing is.
Okay.
Like, how does a thing act like a butthole?
It is round.
Well, I'm thinking more so of like being like asshole. Like he's not allowed to say asshole because it's, I suppose, in front of his kids as he was writing this. So I think he meant more so like if there's assholey behavior, but like I'm not going to, unless this is some sort of Sorcerer's Apprentice, magic stuff. I don't necessarily believe that it will necessarily be like, oh my God, this thing is acting like a butthole.
No. My Paramount Plus app acts like a butthole all the time.
Oh my God. Paramount Plus app is legitimately the worst streaming app I've ever used in my entire life. How is it so garbage? It's awful. It makes me so mad every single time I know I have to boot it up to watch something on Paramount Plus. I'm a stupid Paramount Plus.
Yeah, I pull it up on my laptop and watch it jump around the whole time I'm watching it.
Oh my gosh. And then also the app on my TV is also absolutely it's so, oh my God, it's so bad. Okay. We need to get the word out about how bad.
Okay. So maybe I'm wrong. Paramount Plus is a butthole.
Paramount Plus is a total butthole.
It
kept trying to show me Tough as Nails. Like I would pick Survivor and it'd be like, do you want to watch season 1 episode of One of Big Brother? No. Okay, here's Tough as Nails.
None of these things.
I'm the only one that watches that. Like Mike and I are the only people that watch that. Sorry, Phil.
Read the room. I don't want to I don't need to rewatch Tough as Nails right now as much as I can watch Phil Kogan on my screen with new episodes weekly now.
Exactly.
All right, Jess, you are mathematically eliminated at this point, but I do have one more to give to you. It's a group of favorite hobbies. Learning new hobbies. Non-contact sports. I'm too fragile for contact sports. Aww. I have an addictive personality. I will get into anything put in front of me and obsess over it.
Oh.
Learning new hobbies is a hobby. My
Is
hobby
this-
is
is this-
this like wishing for more wishes.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, was this not your trollish effort of like trying to be tongue in cheek with your bio answers?
This is like I like all kinds of music except for country and rap.
So whose favorite hobby is making more hobbies?
I don't know. I'm gonna say Kevin because he's too fragile for contact sports.
Oh, poor Kevin. Unfortunately,
Oh,
it is not Kevin. Liana,
oh,
you want
oh.
to guess?
Yeah, I'll guess. I don't know though. I am going to go with fragile for contact sports. Well, good news is we can rule some people out pretty much immediately. Eva being one of them, as she plays like one of the most contact sports. I will go ahead and gander a guess on Justin also.
Well, you
Did
have
we do him
gandered your
already?
guess, but your goose is cooked. No, it was Shaheen. We talked about his pet peeves.
Ah,
These were his favorite hobbies.
okay. Okay. Yeah.
And I will, unfortunately, we did not get into my tiebreaker, which was I did a little bit of research about other New Era players, and not one, but two winners in the New Era have said that one of their pet peeves are men in ill-fitting jeans.
Ooh, that's the thing I'm gonna look for now in all the new bios. People who
Do you
say
want
men in
to venture a
ill-fitting
guess
jeans.
as to who those two might be?
Erica
That's one.
and I don't think it's gonna be Gabler, but I will go with D.
Okay, Jess, do you have a guess?
I mean,
Erica
D was
and
gonna be my guess.
Okay.
you are both incorrect. It was Gabler.
No, was it really?
Yep.
I was like, well, it's not Gabler.
Gabler's pet peeves are very specifically, quote, unfairness and men in skinny jeans.
That's so funny. Okay. All right. That's the sign.
Well, that's the skinny, not the jeans, on some of these Survivor 48 contestants. And maybe like the Thomas 3 words, we'll see how much they lean into or away from their bios by the time this season ends up progressing. Before we let things go here on the B&B, of course, every week we give our guests the privilege and honor of being able to spotlight a charity or cause that is important to them. Jess, anything you'd like to highlight in particular for the listeners out there?
I mean, I have a regular recurring donation set up to Planned Parenthood. I don't think you could go wrong with that one. It's important work that's only going to get more important as, we get more and more into this hellfire dystopia we are living in. So yeah, that's my plug, Planned Parenthood.
Perfect. Well, Jess, thank you for coming on and bringing everything that you do and all your greatness to Survivor. Of course, again, if people want to check out more of you, we are officially back in the swing of things when it comes to the Amazing Race. What would you like to plug for the listeners out there who are, keeping the TV on CBS after Survivor wraps on Wednesday nights?
Well, I mean, good for you for committing yourself to 3 hours of reality TV at one clip, because I don't even do that. But you can come check us out. Mike Bloom and I are breaking down the episodes, hopefully with a special guest or two at some point this season. And then I'm also doing exit press for Amazing Race and talking to the teams getting voted out. We had 2 this week and they were both very fun. So check that out.
And any pitch you want to give to people out there who didn't watch the first episode, why should they watch The Amazing Race this season?
Well, they should always be watching The Amazing Race because it's lovely programming and it's kind-hearted and it's got great personalities and they get to travel and it has Phil. That's big draw. Yeah, it's fun. It's like I feel like we are always saying Amazing Race is like it's like the vegetable platter on the steakhouse menu, but you need your vegetables. It's good for you.
Yeah. I would also say as well, if you watched The Amazing Race back in the day and you're saying, oh, why don't they bring back some of those old twists? This is a self-proclaimed season of surprises, and there are some elements from previous seasons that are coming back in sort of short-term ways. So Jets and I will be able to talk through that. And if you want a bit of a nostalgia fix, I guess, from that perspective in a brand new light, feel free to check it out.
It's like Amazing Race Ghost Island, basically.
It really is, actually. It's a very good way to put it. So we'll see. I don't think any of these were cursed. Maybe actually some of them certainly
Some
were.
of them are cursed, Mike.
Some of them are cursed, so we'll see if they get reversed. Liana, what do you want to plug this week?
Yes, Drag Race is going strong. We're gonna have Sugar Free, a queen who we've had on before, as our guest this week, which will be very helpful because this episode was chaotic. And then Puya and I are chugging along with the Puya and Liana Lounge. We're gonna do a well, we're not gonna call it Hot Ones, but it's like a Hot Ones-esque style episode for our 10th total episode that we're doing. So that's gonna be coming up this week as well.
You're gonna get a lot of milk.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna pull out my best David impression.
No.
Want to see these?
No.
Yeah, you gotta give it from all 4 nipples.
Exactly.
Well, of course, you can check out everything I'm doing. I had the great pleasure of getting to talk with Kevin, which again was such a surprise given how everything went down, but was such a nice conversation. You know, Kevin being able to vocalize a lot of what was going on with his shoulder, including, unfortunately, a lot of pain that persisted after the initial incident occurred. And actually, unfortunately, you know, the dive heard around the world came partially from the fact that he had pulled his shoulder out during the challenge. It was like, well, I don't want to dislocate it again on the swim back to the boat. So, like, let me try to half commit. And as a result, now has become instantly iconic. But I had a great time getting to talk with him about everything from his, as we talked about, very eventful 5 days. And the other thing I'll plug is, while I also do Amazing Race Exit Press for Parade, we actually didn't plug this on our Amazing Race podcast, so let's use the opportunity now. We have an Amazing Race Facebook group. I know that there is a very affluent patron community for RHAP proper on Facebook, but we decided to create a separate one kind of around the podcast, around the show itself, where there's discussion threads. We put up podcasts for discussion as well, throw out random questions for Amazing Race fans to answer. So if you are a diehard of the Amazing Race, a casual, or something in between, robhasawebsite.com/tar group. Want to get people in as much as possible before the new episode on Wednesday night. We'll plug it there as well. But yeah, to Jess's point, if you're in it to win it with these 3 hours on Wednesday nights, you can check out our Amazing Race specific group at robhasawebsite.com/tar group. That's going to do it for this week's episode of the B&B. Thank you all so much, as always, for listening. Liana and I will be back next week with another guest, breaking down episode 3. Will Vula continue to spiral, much like the storms that apparently an alliance in Liana's mind will be chasing? Will we see some other stuff? There was a little bit of a promo that had Jeff saying this is a historic tribal council, so we'll see whatever that term applies to, but regardless, we're going to be back on the B&B breaking it all down. Special thanks to the entire team at RHAP behind the scenes for packaging this podcast for your eyes and your ears, and Will from America for his fantastic theme song, which if you're listening to the podcast, you have heard before and you will hear right now. We'll be back next week with more Survivor 48. Until next time, everybody, we'll check you out at your next stay.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.